Good morning. So we got pretty much what was expected yesterday, markets to go up. What was a little bit of a surprise to myself was the fact that tech led again, rather than just joining what should have been, I thought, the party of the laggards leading. Anyway, they all went up at different times, at different speeds, but the real rocket ship was in the NASDAQ again. So now that it's reached the prior high in one day, as you can see, a wide range bar, right to the top of the area there, and it's gapping up. The Qs are gapping up. So this is pushing up here. And I would not be surprised at all to see this poke above that high shortly after the open and then come back in. Just getting the latecomers to jump on board would probably be the worst possible time. And so it's rolling over a little bit. And you can see the way it went up yesterday after the initial move to the downside, which I spoke about, which would be ideal. Of course, we didn't know if it would happen. And we always have a couple of scenarios. So there was the initial move lower and then the reversal higher. And then as it pushed up into the void above, it just kept going. And so now this morning it's up near the prior high and starting to rest. So, a resting day after a day like yesterday is pretty common historically. So, it would be no surprise to see some kind of choppy action today. And I said, if it should rally above this high, once the market opens, be careful that it doesn't just come right back in again. So, it's a relatively big move in one day, a short amount of time, and it's pushed up into resistance there, and just an obvious place where momentum is likely to stall. Right, so we'll see how it plays out. The S&Ps, they did participate, and again, they poked to the downside first, and they moved, and notice the sideways consolidation there, and then just the continuation move to the upside. Reading comments. Okay. So just strength, right? Strength, fake out, strength. And rather than pull back, it created support. And you can read that by red bars being ignored, right? Here and reversals. And notice that this bar, and if you go and take a little bit of a closer look on smaller time frames, you'll see the detail of the move down. It happened right there, and then it moved right back up again, and just jiggles until it was ready to go. So continued strength. The S&Ps have room to the prior high. It doesn't mean that they won't rest if the NASDAQ rests, but maybe the NASDAQ, you got to have different scenarios, different possibilities. Maybe the S&Ps, show some relative strength today versus the NASDAQ, which showed the relative strength yesterday. While they both went up, the NASDAQ was stronger. So that's relative strength. So this has got room to continue to move higher. And really nothing to stop it. Notice there is a little unfilled gap right there. So be aware of that. So I'm just scrunching this up here. I could do it a little further here. So there's the prior high, and there's the unfilled gap. And as you can see, the unfilled gap is right at around 3,300. So know your reference points, before prices get there, of course. And we'll see if it gets there. Right now, things are stalled. No trend change even on the 15-minute, but it did poke up and come right back in again. So a little bit of a shake, upside shake out there, and it came back in. I'll get a few sellers coming in on the breakout failure. And YM, the Dow, the laggard yet again, and that poked down, and now it's trying to get something going here. It's got that prior high. It's got that prior high. So we really got to keep an eye on this as to, assuming that it is going to get up there, if this might become an M top. I mean, theoretically, based on this bottoming pattern that we talked about, it should get through it and move higher. The fly in the ointment is the fact the sentiment is what it is. And the breath yesterday really was terrible, kind of odd. I mean, so look, if you're in the right things, terrific. But and Dan's telling me on CNBC this morning is full bullish. Well, it makes sense. I mean, market won't go down. Bad news, whatever it might be, buyers step up on the dip. And so, movements are what they are. So, I mean, it doesn't really make sense to be bearish here. It certainly makes sense to be cautious. The fact that option traders are, at like nosebleed territory again. And look, the message continues to be the same. If you're in the right stuff that's doing well, great. If you're picking things that you think are, can begin to perform, some of them might, but a lot of them aren't. And so maybe, this ends with a blast off where everything, all the junk does float to the top, so to speak. And this does, get to the point where we get a sell signal. But as you could see, I mean, the breadth was even negative yesterday. So, you look back on these kind of things and say, oh, there was the warning signs. So, and, we should have been looking at that. Well, we are looking at that, but we also being objective and saying, look, there's plenty of stuff that's still strong. So, if you know what you're doing, everything's all well and good. You're keeping an eye on the exit door, and we recognize where things are a little cloudy, so to speak. But so far, things are strong. So until they actually fail and we get some reversal, what causes that? We'll all find out when and if it happens. But of course, this is a concern. Negative breadth, option traders still, and this was much lower during the day, intraday, but that didn't stop the market. Well, it stalled the market for a while, and then eventually everything went up anyway. So we recognize what is, and not get lured into what things are moving so bullishly at the moment, and recognize the fact that, hey, what, there is the possibility that things can turn and turn aggressively when you've got sentiment where it is right now. So Russell, little participation. Maybe this again can bring up the rear. Let's push this up a little bit here. Get a little more data there. So if it can ever get going, this should be the outperformer if it can get going. Just hasn't happened yet. And so, the financials, KRE was just, doing poorly yesterday, even though biotechs were doing okay. And so, well, we'll see what this does today. As I said, I expect it to be more of a resting day. But if this can get going, this should be an outperformer. It's still got a bullish pattern. The wide range bar trading up at the top of the wide range bar, and it's just got to break out. Hasn't been able to happen yet. Bonds just grinding here. Nothing really to talk about. Oil clearing these highs, right? Got a breakout, and it's got room. So maybe oil stocks. Some of them were doing okay yesterday. This was looking interesting. It couldn't do anything yesterday, but if it can clear this high, this was the best looking ETF since it was already up near the prior high, but it's got to get above that red bar's high. Yes, silver is ripping. Gold is moving up, and notice the wide range bar there. Why do I have that on a 90-minute? We must have wanted to look at more data yesterday. In any event, wide range bar there, a little overheated there on a short-term basis, so likely to stall. But bullish price action. It's bar by bar analysis is one of the most powerful things. And I've told the story in different webinars. How did I come up with that? Well, it came up out of trying to control fear and eventually greed. But it was mostly based on controlling fear of, once in a long position or short position, seeing bars that would form opposite the bias and putting them in perspective. So it was just an objective way to create a rule and a method that said, hey, look, that red bar really shouldn't do much of anything. When it forms, it looks bearish. And then you say, bar by bar. It's like, where is it? What is the trend? Well, the trend is up. Where's the red bar? And the area of a bottoming tail of buyers stepped up again. So that leads to, well, if this is all true, this red bar should be ignored. And that's what happened. And now it's moving up. And it's just a method based on price action and common sense rather than, indicators. But, those of you listening that are on the indicator bandwagon, you go spend that extra $500 and find out it's a waste of money. Silver finally broke out. It was the laggard for a while. It's able to clear $20. Yeah, probably needs a rest, but let's see how much data is here. It's just got a lot of room to go higher. So I wouldn't be chasing, but this should continue to do well. It's coming up to the next resistance area there, but just look at multiple year base, a downside shakeout, a stall at resistance, and now a continuation. So long-term looks good. And maybe that guy that's always promoting gold on CNBC, the actor, whoever he is, maybe should start talking about silver. Maybe he does. I don't know. I don't pay much attention. Anyway, this looks great. And lastly, the transports there. Down day yesterday. Well, the breadth was bad. This is not a good sign, but this has been the laggard. So let's see if, this can get turned around. It has broken out. Let's see if we get a red bar ignored. That'll be confirmation, another bullish sign. We'll keep an eye on this today to see what the transports will do, since they weren't having part of the party yesterday. So let's see if I want to look at anything else here. I don't think to add anything more to it. Qs, this is gapping up, so be careful. Gapping up into a prior high. You see it's coming in. People are selling up there already. Makes 100% sense as to day like that, and then it gaps up. Not taking something off the table. That's just greed and stupidity.
Hey, Craig, before you leave, can you go back to CL futures oil? Because I want to look at your strike prices for selling a put spread for Friday for 3 days, and then maybe 10 also. That's the current bar. So what's yesterday's low? I'm eyeballing it, 40, right?
It's right here. See these numbers down here? That's the current bar, and that's the prior bar. 39.97 is the prior bar's low.
All right, so yeah, let's look at. I'll put that on my list. Selling, because I don't like trading USO all the time, but we can do the same credit spread strategy on crude.
Mm-hmm. So Photo Guy on YouTube here is honestly telling us, thank you for the broadcast today. I'm here because I need some guidance. And he says, I'm trying to learn. I don't know what I'm doing. So, Photo Guy, the first thing to do is don't touch the mouse. Do not place a trade. You are dangerous to yourself get at the Master Trader website and just start culling around, looking at resources, reading stuff. Get signed up for MT Live tomorrow. I put the link at the top of YouTube. It will be on YouTube Live at 12 o'clock as well. So take it slow. You don't know what you're doing, so don't start doing anything until you get some knowledge. There you go. All yours, Dan.
All right, thanks. So our positions, we have a bunch of them. I just, if anybody's in this FDN, that's the only one I don't like of our open positions. We have a call spread over this bar's high, and with the strength of Google and Amazon yesterday, that caused a big bar. So I moved the stop to the 30-minute high, just so you know. I posted it in Telegram. Google, we did a nice little afternoon scalp for those of you who did it. Amazon was on fire in the green room yesterday. Some of you were I think Alex was buying a 5-minute high. And then Facebook was another beautiful afternoon setup. Look at that, just no brainer. 15-minute, just picture perfect, beautiful. All right, let's if you have a question about opens, ask me. Otherwise, I'm just going to look at some earnings and other things going on here. PLD, McGraw, I said, I like the gap up deep into resistance. That's a put spread candidate. Now, McGraw emailed me this saying it was a breakout. And McGraw knows by now, I don't trade breakouts. We had hey, Jake, your drop down. We had a long discussion about that yesterday, pre-market. I either buy pullbacks to support or consolidations at resistance. But again, you all know why I have this little weekly chart here and the little monthly. And this monthly is what jumped out at me. So then I blow it up. Look at that monthly chart. Greg, I'm going to put this one in on tomorrow's MT Live class, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about buying, what to look for in beat up sectors. And this is not a beat up sector, but it's a beat up stock. But look at this monthly. It had an upside shakeout, had a downside shakeout to all-time lows. It snapped right back and it's going sideways. Huge price void. So then we'll go to our daily and weekly charts. I mean, this thing as a core trade, look, that's 25 and the stock's at 12. So that would be a double. So that would be my target, 25 to 30, I don't know. So that is definitely on my core watch list, McGraw. But again, that's a breakout that I would not buy unless you are trading the bigger time frames and your stop is last week's low. So that's fine too. LLNW, you're doing nothing. CDNS, gapping up. It's a very strong trend. Look at this. Every single dip. Every dip being bought. Amazing. A bunch of these are earnings right here. I'm looking at Zion, no pattern. TBK, no pattern. You trade like junk. SNV, light volume. Looks like it's gapping up a little bit, but no pattern. See, I just delete you if you don't make it to my tier 1 or tier 2 list. I got no interest. BXS, can't tell where you're gapping, but I don't like the daily anyway. Stole a little steel stock, lagging some of the others. You're gone. GPK, 15 bucks. That's worth watching. You know, it's a gap breakout. I'll watch that. NBEV was not earnings, but it's in the news of some sort. That's a big percent gap. Remember NBEV? We were trading him. That's one of those marijuana companies where they put it in your drink. McGraw actually puts CMD in his orange juice in the morning, and that's what keeps him alert in the morning session. HIB 20, wow, that's a big gap on HIB. Look, if I can't even see the 27s, then I got to go to my weekly, just eyeball it. 27's up here. The gap's too big. I got zero interest in that. But yeah, let's look at the cousins on DKS. 42. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that looks great. So let me put DKS here. ILPT, PLD cousin. All right, McGraw, that's, yeah, we'll watch it. Let me write that down. Where was I? I think here. No pattern, CBSH, CMA, earnings. Another beat up bank stock, 36.50. No pattern. Hey, Jake, you know, I've only said this about 100 times. Tell me what something's up means nothing to me. Tell me about a pattern. But secondly, Jake, there's no, is that Tencent though, TEN? Secondly, at least on TEN, no, it's Tenneco. But look, Tenneco actually, if Tenneco can get above these tails, it has room. TNCY? No, TCPHY. That's an ADR. There's no pattern there. All right, Jake, you know, that's gapping up to resistance. There's no pattern. Fault, you're in a downtrend, no pattern. Wow, I'm just deleting so many of these. 15, I already looked at that one. Musa, that could be a definite candidate for a gap breakout. I can't tell where it's gapping, but I'll definitely leave it on the list. PCAR had earnings, light volume, really can't tell. We'll come back to you. CBSH, garbage, SITC. This looks like a short. This looks like a short. Keep it on the list for a short. Yeah, I think I'm into yesterday's watch list now because this was just a 1, 2, 3. UBS, nothing. No, that was still earnings. EBR. SYF, little bank, no pattern. Papa Mike, 75 bucks, no pattern. LMT, huge gap. That's, we'll watch that one. Could be a put spread. Coke, 47.50 put spread idea. CMA, no pattern. CIT, these are all earnings. It's actually a short watch. Here, look at IBM. IBM gapping up big. I have it in the bottom right. It was gapping up to 133. So after multiple up bars far from the 20, I have IBM 30-minute low as a bear call. Credit spread watch. OPK, Jake. It's too extended, Jake. I mean, just look how far it is from the 20. Halliburton, 30-minute high. Maybe we can watch that. Parham. Tehran. I can't tell where it's gapping, so no pattern right now. Norma, Facebook. Yeah, we were trading that afternoon breakout. Now it's gapping up. Market coming in a little bit. So the possible 30-minute high, Norma. But it's definitely worth watching. It's still one of the good FANG stocks. Tesla was up, and I see that it already filled the gap and exceeded it, meaning to the downside. You know, it has earnings this week, so it's going to be more volatile than usual. Apple holding well pre-market. Amazon was a beast yesterday. That's holding well pre-market. Netflix retraced its entire gap. AAOI is up. Earnings, yeah, I already talked about this one, Ganga. That's a core watch of mine. Look at the monthly. The monthly looks great. SWKS, gapping up. You know, it's up 4 days. Put spread idea. Alpha. I don't know where I got that from. Maybe earnings. Zion, no pattern. Wash, no pattern. Loki, this looks like an ADR, but let's look at what incredible moves these things have made. There's, you know, you're just chasing there. LLNW, no pattern. FBK, no pattern. Wow, I'm deleting so many of these. CCK, it's worth watching. Brian Solapante, you traded with me in California. He's on YouTube asking about this, ABIO. Yeah, actually, I put this in the weekend swing letter, Brian. So it was just this bar. I said it was a bullish engulfing close, multi-week trading range. I said it was a bio, so I was not going to give it. But I said it had the potential for a nice breakout, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. So yeah, if you don't mind bios, you can buy the pre-market high, sure. And Twitter. Yeah, I mentioned yesterday if it closed strong, you could buy the high, but now the gap's messing it up. The daily, weekly look higher, but you know, you got to give it a big stop. If you're swing trading it, you know, these gaps, we love trading gaps, of course, but you know, it makes them harder to get on board. We're in this little FND. It's extended intraday. SILV. Tehran, it's had a nice wide range breakout yesterday, but we just got to wait on these gaps, folks, and see what they're going to do. Hey, our new one that we got into yesterday, very nice. That looks good. CZR, Caesars. That one I think's a buyout, right? And it was finalized. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with Caesars. Yeah, all markets are way off their pre-market highs, way off. Mealy, yeah, I'd be out too if I were you. Yeah, I'd be selling into that gap, sure. All right, everything of our opens are green except NDAC, but we're in trail mode, so that's totally fine. And we have I think we have a full lot of NDAC. No, that's not true. We have half. Let's see, and also VRSK. We're in trail mode. I know Ludwig, but here, let's sell half. No, sell a third. We already sold a third of VRSK.